Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome to the discussion for Mind MGMT, the psychic espionage game. And I definitely see why they put game in quotation marks, because this is not one. No. So I tend to very much enjoy hidden movement games quite a bit. I love Letters from Whitechapel. Fury of Dracula is great. Anomaly is fantastic. The only one I don't like is Spectre Ops, which a lot of people tend to like that one. This game has a lot going for it, but after multiple playthroughs, and even everything you've told me of other playthroughs you've had, this game is wickedly unbalanced. And the reason why, and here's why I'm going to tell you. You guys were wrong about almost everything. Mm-hmm. And you were still able to basically, like, guess your way into where I was at. Mm-hmm. Which, in my experience, these hidden movement games rely on deduction and being able to eventually catch on to where the person that's hidden is. Yeah. And then be like, okay, now we're on this trail. And then use, multiple rounds to be able to deduce that. It alludes to some of that. You guys were wrong about where I started, how I moved, and up until, just having 4 people to be able to go into the same spot and then just kind of double action. You're just like, oh, okay, now we absolutely confirm that. So then it just kind of all stumbles into place, and there's nothing I can do. Mm-hmm. Like, in a lot of these games, Fury of Dracula and Letters from Whitechapel, if you guys start catching on, then it's like, oh, I have abilities that I can use to get out of those kind of backed into a corner. But the way that he moves, it's just like, oh, okay, well, that's that. And I very much dislike that. Like, literally, everything that is a benefit to the recruiter is also shitty for the recruiter. Mm-hmm. I feel the Immortals are way more of a hindrance for him than a benefit, because you guys can just be like, oh, okay, let's just go beat him up and take a guess, and it's like, coffee. Oh, okay, that just immediately... Getting one of these inherently means I'm not winning through recruiters. Mm-hmm. So once that happened, I was like, I guess I'll stall out and just hope that works out. So I very much don't like that. There's other aspects of the game that I do like, but the fact that I sat here and listened to you guys be wrong about almost everything until the very end and then get it, it was like, okay. Yeah. And I guess some people might like that, because there are instances in those Fury Draculas from Whitechapel, if the people searching are wrong, they're really wrong, mm-hmm. and then they have no chance. But in every game that I've played of this, and every game you've played of this, the recruiter loses. And it's like, okay, I guess I'll
Except for basically that one game.
Which one?
It was within
the one
2 rounds at the end, and I was winning, and they had no idea where I was.
Oh, at, yeah. So they accused you of cheating. Yeah. Right, yeah. That one doesn't really count. But it does, I guess. It's just like, the tuck boxes that they have are really cool. I like that. But it also kind of tells me, we didn't balance the base game, so we'll just include some extra rules. So if you keep losing, just keep giving yourself some shit to help you win. And it's like, but shouldn't that be just additional content that you want to include, not because you have to include it? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I sat here and I was so frustrated the entire time. I started here. I never touched the fountains. Nice. But you guys, assuming that I did, was just like, oh, that's good enough. Mm-hmm. And being able to stumble in and be like, okay, well, we pretty much know exactly where he's at. Even the fucking special abilities suck, because they don't get you out of it. They immediately tell you exactly where you're at. Mm-hmm. So that's my thoughts on the recruiter.
Share, and subscribe.
So what do you guys think of Mind MGMT?
To be honest, it's not my favorite hidden, movement game. I would much rather play Fury of Dracula. I wasn't too super engaged. Mm-hmm. I'm also not super good at these games, because I'm like, we could be anywhere. We're lost. Sure. I'm very pessimistic.
Yeah. Well, there also is an inherent. I remember seeing a post on I think it was a Facebook, the group. Some people were asking just about hidden movement in general, and someone commented that I was like, that might actually be true. His response was, it's more fun for the person hiding. Because they're the ones that know everything. I know and everything you guys are openly saying, I could be like, no, they think that. How wrong? Or crap, they got... So I get to feel all the suspense, and you guys are just shooting in the dark the entire time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is actually a problem, I guess, just with hidden movement in general.
Yeah.
Which maybe for those kind of people who feel that, this will be a game for you because you're almost always getting it. There was nothing... You guys... There was never a time where you're like, well, shit... He might be all the way over here. You're like, nope, we know exactly where he's at. He's on this board. He's going over here. And it's like, all right, well, I guess I'm just getting caught. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like I played a couple of games in this genre. I don't think I've played any of them twice.
Yeah.
And that's not by choice. That's just, they haven't come up very often.
Right.
But every single time I go, and I've never been the controller, whatever that role is, it just feels like, I don't have any clue what's going on. You have a strategy. I'm going with you because I'm like, okay, well that makes sense. And what you're
And you guys were at a
explaining-
disadvantage because I played this, I think, more than anybody here,
Yeah.
and this was all your first time. So
Yeah.
I was trying to avoid quarterbacking, but also I was just trying to throw out my opinion and.
Yeah.
and
No.
Yeah, and
I heavily rely on
probably not the most enjoyable way to play the game,
No,
honestly.
I mean,
But there's-
that's how I play all these games.
Well, that's the only way I'm going to learn anything because I'm sure not going to do it by guessing.
Well,
Go,
at
well,
the-
that was wrong.
Well, at the same time, I have played both Fury and Leathers with new players, and there's always input because there's multiple options for the person hiding to be able to track and get around, so everyone can be involved. This one, because the recruiter follows the game a snake path, there's really no other input. If someone figures out, oh well, he's probably here, yeah, that's the route to go, because it doesn't reset. Like Fury of Dracula's 4 rounds, and then he starts in a spot, so he can backtrack, 11, 12, 11, 12, 11, 12, and then take off. Fury of Dracula has the trail of 6 cards, so if I put, Munich as a location I go to, it has to fall off the trail before I can go back there. This is just like, nope, you have been there, and that is that.
Yeah.
And so once you figure out, once again, even though you were wrong about where I started, you were close enough that it's like, okay, well, it limits this person, I think, too much. Because every benefit that he potentially could have is also a detriment. The psychic abilities, I don't know where they're at. Yeah, the mind slips are 1 or 2 time uses. Yeah, I could have used the second one because I went that way. But it's like, oh, well, it's diagonal, so I have no freedom there because I've already been to. So I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how I started. I went around the mayhem. And then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
I mean, to be fair, we were very accurate. We just got our first 5 moves crisscrossed.
Right, but that's also what I'm...
Literally everything else that we had was correct.
It's because
Because
of
we
your...
did 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We had all that right. We
Yeah.
knew that you went there.
Right, but
So,
even at that
I'd
point...
say 75% of what we guessed was correct.
But you're also able to just willingly guess
But here's the
so
thing, though.
many times.
Yeah, it's because you have to go in a snake pattern.
Right.
Is why we got to narrow.
So
it
then
down.
once you were like, oh, fuck. I mean, even though, yeah, they have a lot of features, it's just like, fuck it, we'll guess birds. Oh, well, okay, well, yeah, I have to have gone through one of those
To be
fucking
honest,
things.
I was just gonna tell you guys to guess birds because I just saw the bird and I was like, we haven't guessed that yet.
Yeah, it was also Tiki. And then the Immortals, yeah, I guess I can trail against you or with you, but no, I can't because, his ability just negates anything that they do, and then you just move them. So you're like, oh, you're going to block me? Nah, get the fuck out of my location. So it's like, all right, well, they're not helping me. In fact, they're hurting me because you just beat the shit out of them and then guess a thing, and then now I can't even get recruits. It's just, I just don't, in Fury, he has special abilities that he plays a card down, let's say this was it. Oh, I'm turning into a wolf. That lets me move twice. I put that down, and it has a thing of a wolf, so you know I did that. It's kind of the same idea, but those, whenever they fall off the track, they come back. Mm-hmm. It's just everything is so close, but it's such a hindrance. Even though I was literally 1 space away, and I was like, well, maybe they'll just fuck up. Maybe that's my only chance they'll win is if they just say something stupid and do it. Brett was like, I can move there and capture. I'm like, oh yeah, please do, then I'll win. But then once it's just like, oh wait, no, we know exactly how he had to move because he has no other options. Okay, well that's 15. That's where he's at.
Oh.
Yep.
Once we got the 11 down, and then we figured out where the 12 was, we narrowed it down to about 3 or 4 spaces.
Right. That's
so I'm going to go off on a tangent because I've played this a little bit. When I first saw this at Gen Con, you bought it.
Yeah.
And it was one of them that I kind of stood by it, and I looked at the board, and I was like, it seems weird. It's not really my type of game. I played Whitechapel. I'm familiar with Fury. I know how the mechanics work and everything. And I was like, I'm going to pass on it. And then we played it afterwards, played the training module.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. This is probably my game of the year. If I had to pick one from 2021.
You should probably play more games from the year.
I played Whitechapel with one person who was new. I played it with Zach. I was bored the entire time. You move a thing. Like, these games, the mass amount of people are the people trying to find you.
Yeah.
And for that not to be fun for the mass amount of people trying to find someone. Because the people I played with Steven, I played with Brandon, I think, and we were all very visibly bored.
Yeah.
It took an hour and a half. We were going over and over again, and I was just like, we got to hurry this up. This is not fun. This is not interactive. Every single game that I played with this, that I brought new people, I've taught 10 people now this game. They oftentimes win, but even after the game where I was accused of playing incorrectly and stuff, people were like, I want to play that again. I want to get back into it. Zach and Josh are both very interested in playing it again. I played 2 games where people were high-fiving at the end because they found me.
Oh.
Yeah.
But everybody had fun. I enjoyed it because this game is geared to make you feel like you're losing on both sides the entire game. I've listened to podcasts that I forget the name of it, but they said that the recruiter was overpowered. I don't know how that experience happens. I can't imagine. Everyone that I played with is pretty observant as far as this goes, but in my mind, this game is geared to play.
In your mind.
In my mind, this game is meant to play once, and then you constantly build those extra decks. And that may be a thing where you need to add 1, 2, 3 added benefits. And I like the idea of making a game progressively complex through. It's not really a campaign.
No,
but
not really.
It's a constructive game as far as how you add elements into it.
Sure.
I could see playing 3 games of this, and maybe you lose the first 2, but then you add new elements to it because we don't know what are in those boxes. I played with 3 of them now.
Right.
And I know that they get progressively stronger, and that's an instant way to fix an issue. There might be a box on number 4 that you add to it, which, again, I don't know, that fixes that problem as far as maybe now you can move 2, maybe you can do other things. I would agree with you that the base game, it does seem like the recruiter has a disadvantage, but I will also say every time that I've played it and I've had a disadvantage, even though I lost, I still had fun.
Yeah, I mean, and that's obviously your experience, and I'm not going to discount that in any way. To rebuttal that from my point of view, with the tuck boxes are essentially kind of the same idea that I have whenever a base game is bad, and people are like, no, you need the expansion. And it's like the expansion fixes it. It's like, no, that's like saying a video game comes out day 1 and it's broken, and then it's like, no, wait till the DLC or the patch comes out. It's like, no, it should have been good from the start. Those mini tuck boxes are like, well, it fucking sucks being the recruiter. No, you need box 4, 7, and 10, and then it's fun for you. It's like, I don't want to do that. I want to be like, this was great. Oh, and then there's more? And I don't get that. And it's like, it's cool that you can mix and match those boxes, but for it to be a way to make it fun for a player, I don't give them a lot of credit for that. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Letters from Whitechapel and Fury of Dracula, I've had those experiences too, where people just have no clue where the person's at, and then obviously they're just shooting in the dark, and then it's like, okay, well, we have no idea you're gonna win.
Right.
And Fury of Dracula is always 4 hours, so it's like, well, shit, that's a really long time. And this is obviously significantly shorter, and I don't know. Like, the only time I've had fun playing this was actually when I wasn't the recruiter, when I wasn't so fucking restricted by playing Snake from the 90s. Because I would say it feels, I don't know, whenever I played as the agents, I think is what they're called, I never felt like we were losing. I felt like we were always on your trail. And then it came down to a 50-50 split of like, well, it could be here, and then I have no idea whether Julie or Steven even liked it, because they always seem bored when they're gaming. And Steven's like, oh, I guess I'll go here and capture. And it's like, okay, yeah, we happen to get you.
He did the exact same thing in Whitechapel whenever I played with him. I think
Really?
that's
Maybe that's why you didn't like it. No, and even then, it's like, I played Letters from Whitechapel on my bachelor party with 6 of us. And, like, whenever... And they won by the 3rd night. And they put themselves in the position where I was like, shit, there's no way for me to get out of this unless they do something dumb. And then I killed one of the wretches, and then like my friend Bailey, he's just like, I'm gonna move here and I'm gonna rest there, and I'm like, yeah, that's where I was. There was nothing I could do. Yeah. And then they were into it. So it's based off of experiences. I don't give a whole lot of credit to even my own fucking reviews. Like, no one should. No one should be like, oh, well, what did Seth think? I'm just going to go off of that. I don't listen to podcasts and base my opinion off that. So if you're watching and you agree with Zach, then by all means go out and get it. Or if you watch the run-through and you're like, oh, yeah, this seems like something that I can get into, then that's all you can do with a review. This would probably still be at the bottom of all the hidden movement games I've played, though. Brett, you got anything to chime in?
Not really. I mean, it's more options, more ways to consider movement for the agents than many of the types of games there.
Yeah.
So, that's an advantage, but it's also a limitation because you can only pick one of them each turn.
Right.
And we're constantly running out of time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's... I feel the same way as I did about all the other ones that have been mentioned, with the exception of being Captain Sonar.
Oh, I guess that is kind of like this. It has aspects of the snake movement.
But because it's not a one versus many.
Yeah.
It's a team versus team.
Yeah.
That changes the whole dynamic anyway. Everyone's involved all
That
the
is
time.
true. That is absolutely true.
So, but other than that, it always starts out like, I don't have a clue. Let's that. Oh, wrong. Okay, that one.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you know a strategy for starting to narrow down the choices. And it seems like it feels more balanced, just in the sense that everybody feels terrible the whole time and then does it always come down to the last move when it's either successful or blown?
No.
I've seen it. I've seen people win in the first 4 rounds. I've seen people win.
Is that purely luck?
Most in all of those games, I would say it's mostly luck.
Yeah. We actually were able to deduce.
Yeah, I completely disagree. I think every time that... Maybe there was one game where I got caught and it was a little bit of luck. I mean, there's a shred of luck no matter what you do. You have to weigh your odds as far as making a choice. Like, we were weighing our odds as far as which direction you used your mind meld ability.
Yeah. But knowing how that worked, knowing one fact, we were able to mitigate that with using the right powers, which is nice.
Right.
I mean, it felt like we were actually able to gain information when I haven't felt that way about other games I've played.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's heavily in favor of the agents.
Maybe toward the end, yeah. Certainly doesn't start out that way.
Well, no, none of these games do.
And they can't.
But
I will say, from the point of view of... I haven't played as the agents much, but I have played as the recruiter quite often. Yeah. And... there is very easily a position that you can get into as a agent where you're completely lost. Like, you could have used that last mind meld token in the last turn, and I would have had no idea. He would have won the game.
No, I couldn't.
Maybe it wasn't a possibility. I didn't actually know for sure where you were at. But
no, because your guys' tripwires and all that just basically blocked off that entire section they could have moved from.
Right.
But even the tripwires, all you would have said was, yes, I crossed one of those lines.
But having known, okay, well, we know he went to 11, the mind melds are absolutely useless. They were actually probably more of a hindrance to use, because no matter what I did at 11, I either move north or move across, and then you guys were like, oh, did you move? Okay, well, he was at 11, it's 12 now, so, like, he's there. So I was like, my only chance is to go to there and just send off a person. But because you have a guy who can run across the whole map, you have a person who can just guess where they're at.
Well, once we got lucky enough to start drawing your cards.
That's what I'm saying.
And I will say that is the biggest hindrance as far as doing well is their abilities. Their abilities are very strong.
Yeah. So, I mean, and to your point, this is essentially a customizable game. So if we playing this, I could be like, what the fuck was that? Like there was nothing I can do. Okay, well, let's do this same setup again. You guys just don't get your powers. Let's try that. Okay, you guys get your powers, you don't get the dolphin. Or search through the boxes. I don't really care, like, the tuck box system. I like that there's more content like that. I just don't want to have to dig through, because another thing, it's like, oh, well, those potential mind slip abilities, let's get me more of them. So there's not, you don't have a 50-50 shot that tells you immediately it's not this one.
Yeah.
There's 4 options
If
there.
they had like a werewolf system with minus and plus, like, to balance the system, that seems like it would be a little bit more clear.
Or I'm trying to think of ways, because I don't hate this game. Like, I should preface that. Like, it's definitely not a bad hidden movement game.
It's just the worst one.
Out of the ones that I have played, no,
Yes.
I would easily play this over Spectrops. Spectrops, you have no fucking chance. And in this one, it's like, I'm trying to think of ways where you could balance it out, but then not break it. Because it's like, okay, what if I had 2 mind slips?
Yeah.
I mean, I only have 2 tokens, like, so it's not like I can just keep hopping around. So what if I got both of those?
And that is part of the reason at the beginning of the game I was trying to push you towards just taking a box without us taking one, just because it's powerful, but like once it's kind of played and once you cover an area and you know someone's passed it, it becomes useless. In the game that we played, someone passed through it, or I passed through it, and it was no longer much of a threat because
Right.
they knew I was kind of in that area and they had no idea what I was going through, especially if
Sure.
you spread it across the entire map. But if you take one, even with our powers, especially if you maybe on the next game, if you took a higher number and then we didn't take one at all,
Yeah.
then it would be much more
Well, I did take a higher number.
higher than you have now.
Sure.
And that's how that system is supposed to be created, is you lose a game and then you go a little higher where you take one away.
Now, I did read the shift system, but I don't remember. Do you combine them? Or
You can.
You can?
Yeah.
So I could have the stupid dream thing. He did fucking nothing.
Yeah. And truthfully, that the one that's in the first box is a spoilers, but it's a fake foot token. You also get a new
mind
ability.
slip.
We played it with it once, but that fake foot token is very useful
Yeah.
because every foot that you can put down, you have one token, and you flip it over, and it can be a fake that you put out when someone asks a question about it. So you could put it onto a space that you had never been before.
That is 100% better than the fucking Dreamwalker.
Yeah.
So, and I was going to mention, because you did try more boxes than I have, it sounds like that those are not inherently balanced. So I wonder if the numbers even fucking matter. Because number 1 sounds better than number 3, which I took.
Yeah.
And you guys took 2. Your shock thing, I felt, was way better than... Because, I mean, you guys were just like, okay, yeah, we'll place this token. And it goes, all right, we know it's down here.
Yeah.
All it did was stall out for 2 rounds
Yeah.
before it was like, oh, now we can reveal. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
So
And to be fair, that did push the game. We were very close. Literally on the last round that we had, we caught you.
Yeah, but I knew by fucking round like 13 and 14, I'm like, there's no way I'm getting away with this.
Yeah.
You definitely had that vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was, unless, like I said, unless you could do those abilities in addition to your movement, because you guys were able to move and use the tripwire things at the same time, it would have been cool to be like, oh, I can move my 1 and then use this.
Yeah.
Because if I could do that, then I would have moved here and I could have hopped here.
Well, if you had used your mind meld token right here and then moved here, then you could have potentially disappeared after that.
That is true.
And not even-
I could have done that.
And not trip the wire.
Yeah, that's true. Oh no! The reason why I didn't do that is because you were right. You were like, you had people over here,
Right.
And the only person that wasn't over there, like Kat, was somewhere over here, and I could have hopped from 11 to here because she was there.
Yeah.
And
And
luckily
that's
I didn't.
sometimes, I mean, that's what I've had fun with too. I've started a couple different games where I'm actively in somebody's spot, and that's just, I don't know. I haven't played many of these games, but
And you do have that freedom to do that in this, which I do like. Letters is, I mean, you start in those wretched pawn spaces. Oh, I killed this one, so I have to start there, and then Jack goes first.
Yeah.
So he gets to, but it's like, I'm here, and then I move once, so I'm in some of these numbers.
Right.
And Fury, you get to start anywhere. I very much prefer the hidden movement games where you get to start anywhere. I think, honestly, what would fix him, for me, is fluidity with movement. Like, the snake pattern is a cool idea. I just think it completely boxes them in. Not in the sense that you would think, where it's like, man, I can't go anywhere. But in the sense that once you guys figure out a lead for sure, you basically are able to follow that trail.
Right.
Which is fun for the agents, but not as fun to be the one. So it does flip it. I was thinking that when we were playing. I'm like, this does definitely turn it on its head. It's not the one who is most powerful. Because normally the games are, it's one, so he's really powerful because it's up against 4.
Right.
And so the numbers outweigh the power, but it almost never is like that. So yeah, I mean, I guess, test it out with a bunch of different boxes and different combinations. Personally, though, I would much rather those be options already, like on a sheet, so you know what. You don't have to dig through tuck boxes or play the game over and over and over and be like, finally found one that feels balanced or fun for me. But I almost feel like it's like, oh, now I'm overpowered, and then now it's not fun for you guys.
Right.
And there's, who knows?
What was your third card, by the way?
Huh?
It was coffee.
Oh, tiki torches.
Tiki torches.
Mm-hmm. It literally meant nothing. Once she found the coffee, I couldn't win through recruiting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had the numbers. So that already was I thought was kind of busted.
Yeah.
Because
And that was just a fluke.
yeah, it was just a guess. Because I was sitting there when Brett was like, "Let's just go down the list." I'm like, "Hell yeah!" I'm like, "You're not any. I don't have any of these except the bird."
And I'm like, nah.
Coffee, and I'm like, "Okay, guess I'll just erase all of that." And that is just super shitty. I would almost rather not play with Immortals.
Yeah.
Like, it's like for me, I feel like them getting you an additional recruit is more like it's not as good as being able to literally take a card away from me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, unless I can think of anything else, like if they're in your spot, they prevent you from like revealing or anything that they're in. Mm-hmm. Like you can't ask about like if he was in a spot with Brett. Not that it mattered because his ability makes him useless. So it's like, okay, I'm already short. He's always good. If he was in your spot, then everyone's ability is broken. Like, so your guys' abilities essentially cancel any use I get out of these. Mm-hmm. But it's like, okay, yeah, he's in here with you, negating your ability. I guess you guys can't ask about books or tiki torches anywhere on the board. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that ever came up. I don't think it would have mattered, even if it did.
I liken playing the recruiter to like playing one of those like co-op games. It's like very difficult. Mm-hmm. That takes multiple tries to finish something.
Yeah.
It seems like that's how it's geared.
Yeah.
At least initially. But
I agree with that on fully cooperative games.
Yeah.
Me and my friend Devin were playing The Loop, which is a very difficult co-op game. He's like, this game might be too hard. I'm like, I would much rather have a very hard co-op game, because once a very easy co-op game, you're like, we're done.
Yeah.
But this isn't necessarily co-op. It's like sitting there and you're like, there's just fucking nothing I can do, so I guess I'll just drag it out. And it's already longer than it needs to be. Not that the game, it's about an hour and a half, which is fair.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that bad of a time.
Yeah.
So, my criticisms with it are fixable through customization of the game, that may or may not be like, oh, now here we go, let's just always play like this, because it came down to the wire and it was both like, oh man. But yeah, this one for the run through, I'm like, yeah, no, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
Brett, Kat, Zach, you guys got anything?
Nah.
Nope.
All right.
Theme is fun.
The theme is super
Block is
cool.
fun. They play it up really nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the theme is super cool. Like, it's very campy, with like the writing.
Well, I think it walks the line. I was reading different things on the box. Sometimes it's silly,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's just a little sinister.
Yeah, it's
It's the eye right there on the building.
right. The
Worst day of
the
the whole
orgy on the back. It's mayhem, but it's like, don't get me wrong, the game is brown. Like, it is not pop as a board. It's very just. I think it's honestly, for me, art's obviously subjective. I think this is an ugly game.
A lot of people have said that it's disgustingly beautiful to a certain degree.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all painted. The comic books are in watercolor.
Yeah, it's
and
intriguing though.
A lot of people have said when they see it from afar, It's like, wow, that's ugly, but it also looks great at the same time.
It
in a weird way.
really makes you look at it, though.
It's kind of like those cartoons, like South Park and stuff, where it's like, obviously art is not the point of this. It's not meant to be like really highly detailed, like Archer, where it's like weirdly detailed, but they feel like cutouts moving on a backdrop. But like this art, I feel is really detailed. Then you get the board, and you're like, why is it just brown?
Yeah.
Like, it looks like it's just squares, though, so it doesn't matter.
It does have a good way of making the actual features pop to some degree. I mean,
yes.
They're not, like, so bright it's candy colored, but you can tell.
But they're
what
obvious
things
what's
are.
there, yeah.
Like, I can tell what's over in the corner from where I'm at over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, so, I mean, I will say, even though I've been the one dogging on it the most, I would like to try the other boxes just to see what's there. How many of them are there? 10?
There's,
Or is there
I believe,
six? There's
7
12,
for each side.
7,
so
so
there's
14.
There might be 8 for each side. I can't
7,
remember.
you're right. Yeah. And they have that in Letters from Whitechapel as well. Like, in the expansion, it was like, hey, if you're finding it to be too hard to win as the cops, the shit squad, you gotta, here's like 5 things that you can give them.
Yeah.
And I've played it like that, where it's like, okay, well, this sounds fun. We'll give them their abilities. We'll give Jack the dear boss letters, just to customize it. It's the same thing here, but those are obvious. You have a sheet that tells you this. You have to, the tuck box thing is just kind of weird.
Yeah.
But on a scale of 1 to 10, we'll start with Zach, just because I know his is probably going to be the highest.
8.5.
8.5?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to give it a 10.
Highest I've given anything.
Okay.
On any of the games that we played.
Oh, I'm like, just in general, you're like, better than Castles of Burgundy. That game is shit!
No.
Very good this.
Did you give it? Is 8.5? What did you give Dune? Like a 4,
8.
right? Oh, because, yeah, Dune is bad. Okay. Alright, Brett.
I'm willing to give it a shot again and try better. I'd say 7.
7?
I was gonna give it a 6.
I was also going to give it a 6. Even though people are going to be like, what the fuck? You just shat on it. It's like, no, it's just, because I'd give Letters from Whitechapel an 8. I'd give Fury of Dracula an 8. Anomaly is probably a 7. Splendor, once again, I have to bring it up every time. Spectre Ops is probably a 4. So this is still better than that. There is potential for it to go up from there with the different customization. Honestly, what I might do is just fucking take all those cards out of those boxes and separate them and be like, all right, here's the bag. And then
It'd be better if they were in Ziploc bags. For
yeah, because I mean, really, what you could do is if you just took all the rogue agent stuff out, and then not the rogue agents, the agent stuff out, and then the recruiter stuff out, and you're like, oh, you're the recruiter. Here's your stuff. Pick what you want. And if you're able to do that, be like, oh, this sounds fun, okay. And then like, hey, recruit or agents, you pick 2 things, and then the recruiter can pick 2 things.
Yeah.
And just to see kind of what they want to get at.
Right.
Or just always give them every single potential option of a mind slip person. I don't know what those are called.
These?
Yeah.
The potential.
Like, because I mean, at the most, there's
This is who you are as the recruiter.
Gotcha.
This is your character.
Okay, so the recruiter ability. Sorry.
Yeah.
At the most, there's going to only be 9. And so if you just gave them all those options and they just shuffled and picked one, and then it's going to make it really hard for if they use it, you have to trifle through it. But I think with the multiple actions that the agents get, that they're not going to sit there and be like, hey, you used it, there's nothing, we have nowhere to go off of. Like, even at a 50-50 split, it was immediately obvious which one it was.
Yeah.
So,
and a lot of the ones in the boxes, as far as I know, they completely change the integral parts of the game. Like, they'll completely change the reveal action, they'll completely change the shakedown action, they'll completely change the step action.
yeah.
And I'm sure the ones that are later, like higher numbers, are probably geared more towards that. That's what I would guess. But again, I haven't played them.
Right. And also, to be fair, going back to the agent or the recruiter abilities, they're not going to be in every box. Box 3 didn't have one.
Right.
So, yeah, that might be kind of the way to go to replay it, just to have every option available immediately and just see what happens.
Right.
All right, so that's our thoughts on Mind Management. Let us know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.
Bye.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.